Good morning. I call to order the June 6th, 2023 meeting of the Saline County Board of Commissioners. I ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Shadwick.
Here.
Commissioner Sparks.
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson.
Here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
I ask that you please stand and join me in a flag salute followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get going in citizens input, and I don't want Norm to beat me to the punch here, but today is D-Day, and I can tell you that I'm so proud that my granddaughter is there today. My dad would be so proud because he was involved in that. Excuse me. So we'll move to the citizens input portion of our meeting where the citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes, and pertaining to items that are not on today's agenda.
Norman Mount Flana, being you open the door, Robert, what is next Wednesday? It's flag.
I'm having a hard time with tomorrow, so
It's Flag Day.
okay.
Nobody's ever stood up here and said anything about Flag Day recognition, proclaimed it or nothing. Yet you all stand up here and pledge allegiance to the flag. You're hypocrites.
Thank you. Next week I would have known that because Flag Day happens to be my grandfather's birthday. So, anybody else? We will move to the consent agenda. And today's consent agenda consists of approval of tax roll adjustments, approval of accounts payable, approval of the public forum agenda, approval of the payroll, approval of county commission minutes for May the 23rd, May the 30th, May the 31st, approval of proposed change order 11 for the courtroom project. And that, are there any of those items that commissioners wish to discuss or pull? I will tell you that I am concerned about the minutes from May the 30th, which is our budget meeting minutes. And there really is nothing in the minutes discussing what we really discussed that day. It's just a matter of department heads presented their budget requests to the commission. And I don't know if a citizen's reading that, they're wondering what the heck really happened, and we don't have it in the minutes. I'll give the other commissioners a chance to override me on that, but I'd like to pull that all together and get a better set of minutes than that. And if commissioners think that that's okay, we'll pass it 4-1. So that's my opinion. And I would look for approval of the consent agenda or approval of what I just said.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
There being no second, I think we'll bring it back then, and I would make the motion that we would approve the consent agenda, but pull item number 6 for further review.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve today's consent agenda minus number 6, which is the approval of county commission minutes for May the 30th of 2023. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. We'll move to item number 1.
RFA 2023-111 and Resolution 23-2386, official county newspaper with Jim Du Bois, Saline County Treasurer.
Good morning, Mr. Du Bois.
Good morning, Commissioners. Well, I'm back with the RFA regarding the official newspaper for the county under Kansas statute KSA 64-101. Subsection B outlines the qualifications to be the official newspaper for publication of legal notices and requires the Board of Commissioners to pass a resolution designating the official county newspaper. The various publications include but are not limited to the items regarding the county budget, delinquent taxes, resolutions, and quarterly financial reports. A concept discussion with the commissioners was held on April the 4th about the possibility of designating a different newspaper as the official county newspaper and the designation of the commission. A request for proposals was issued on April the 20th, 2023. We received 2 proposals on or before the 19th of May, and the staff consisting of myself, county administrator, and the county clerk reviewed each proposal. Salina 311 does meet all of our 4 requirements as set out in statute, and is published in Saline County. Salina Journal meets the requirements, but is not published in Saline County, but it is printed in Kansas. Statute does not allow for, or statute does allow for printing to occur in Kansas if there is no newspaper published in the county. Salina 311's price proposals were also less than the Salina Journal's price proposals, and the county councilor has reviewed and approved the attached resolution. The alternatives for action is either to adopt the resolution to name the Salina 311 as the official county newspaper, or not to adopt the resolution and provide staff with further direction. Staff recommendation is to adopt the resolution naming Salina 311 as the official county newspaper. Budget impacts in 2022, Saline County spent approximately $50,000 on required legal publications. While there is no budget impact with the adoption of the resolution, with Salina 311's price proposal, it is expected that the county will see a reduction in publication cost. With that, I'll turn it back over to the commission for action.
I guess one question that I have is why that this issue comes before the treasurer's office and not before the administration office. Why is the treasurer in charge of this?
Mainly because we probably have the most in-depth publications and costs related. By the time we print delinquent taxes, which cost a tremendous amount of money, plus approximately probably about 8 years ago, a little bit more than that, I did approach the legislature in looking at a reduction of cost and prices and looking at transparency.
You mentioned, Jim, it's expected the county would see a reduction in publication costs. Do you have an approximate number?
You know, I can only guess on my part, it would probably be about half. So if we're publishing $50,000, I would assume it might be around 25, maybe a little bit more.
We could probably cut that in half again if we were to, all the citizens were to pay their taxes on time and we didn't have to put a publication notice out there to pay your taxes. It would be my guess.
Thank you, Mr. Vidrickson. That's pretty good.
Other commissioners with comments?
A couple questions, Jim.
Sure.
You mentioned the proposals, but you didn't put in print what those proposals were, the amounts. And secondly, you mentioned that the statute does allow for printing to occur in Kansas if there is no newspaper published in the county. Does the fact that 311 is published in county
It is.
make them, does that void the Salina Journal from being, I mean, is this a moot point? Because by statute, are we obligated to go with the one published in our county?
Sorry, Commissioner Weeks. Yeah, this was reviewed by, of course, our county counselor. It is published in Salina. 311 is, and I believe the Salina Journal is published in Hutchinson. So by statute, you're correct.
That's an interesting point. Very interesting point.
Yep.
Other commissioners with questions or anything from Commissioner Shadwick? Can you hear us?
I'm good.
Okay. Is there any public comment? I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt Resolution 23-2386 as presented.
Second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 23-2386 in the official county newspaper. Further discussion? All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 0. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item number 2.
RFA 2023-109, road magnet with Darren Fishel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Commissioners. This request for action is for approval to purchase a new road magnet to be used by the rural operators to remove metal debris from the roadway. This purchase would come under the single source supplier provision of the Saline County purchasing policy. The magnet is an industrial grade and built to rugged specifications. It will pick up a 16-penny nail from a height of 8 inches. We have received a quote from Bunting. They are an industrial magnet supplier located in Newton, Kansas. The purchase price of the magnet would be $27,836. Alternatives for action would be 1, to accept the quote from Bunting in the amount of $27,836 or reject the purchase. Staff recommends the purchase from Bunting. The current magnet we use has outlived its useful life for our purposes. The magnet reach out, which is the ability to attract metals from a distance, has been compromised. The new magnet would provide greater ability to remove more of the damaging metal materials from the roadway. We used to loan our magnet to a neighboring county who had used crushed concrete for road aggregates and were needing to remove metal from the roadway. They did some research and could not find a supplier for the type and strength of magnet we had. They contacted Bunting to have them build one for them and have had great success with it. When we comparing the two side by side, the ability of the newer magnet to attract and remove metal from the roadway is decidedly significant over ours. Bunting evaluated our magnet in order to come up with the specifications and improvements. The Road and Bridge Department uses this magnet on a routine basis throughout the county and is available upon citizen request. In working on the equipment program for 2024, I was in conversations with Bunting on getting a price projection for 2024. The increase from this year to next year is nearly $1,700. Since the funding source is the special equipment account and the money is already in place, it would make sense to purchase it this year at the lower price, and the old magnet would be sold on Purple Wave. The budget impact is the unencumbered balance of the Special Road and Bridge Machinery account is $1,745,592.73. Purchase of this equipment would leave a balance of $1,717,756.73. I have a few slides to show. This is a picture of our old magnet. In speaking with Bunting, one of the things that makes a magnet lose some of its attractiveness is impacts to structure, causing fracturing of the magnets. This one has been hit and damaged several times. This magnet came to the department in the early 90s. There's a 35-year-old employee of our department, remembers where they got it, doesn't remember where they got it, but it was used when they got it. So it's well over 35, 40 years old. And also exposure to moisture. As you saw on the old one, it was cracked, so rain and water has been getting inside of there. The action on the magnet does not work, so without cutting it open, we're not even sure if the magnet is contacting the bottom of the plate. The new magnet, which Bunting used our magnet to design theirs, and so they showed me the drawings. And next slide. So it is similar in look and feel, but it does have this raised bar on the top for us to attach J-hooks to that will go on the front of the motor graders without having to weld on the magnet housing itself. Next slide, please. This is just a picture of the use of it in Marion County. Next slide, please. This is some of the material that can be taken up off our roads with a magnet. So usually when people will call and say, well, we're getting flat tires, And also, I've asked the assistant road superintendent to make sure that this magnet gets run on each and every road at least once a year. Next slide, please. And so see, there's just some of the things that we pick up out of the roads. I'd take any questions.
Darren, you kind of answered my question, and that is, how does a magnet wear out? So
they break.
But you've kind of answered that for me to a degree. So I'll let commissioners ask questions or comments.
A question, Darren. You are using the single source provision to purchase this.
Yes.
Does that mean that there aren't any commercial magnets out there that for this application that we could go to bid for?
No. Marion County searched, I searched, and mostly you can purchase magnets that are on wheels. But that really isn't what doesn't fit our use. Wheel magnets have a tendency to get destroyed because people pull them too fast. And the wheel magnets that are electrical are quite a bit more expensive.
What causes the one picture you showed of it, you get the weld part in the bottom of it, what structures get hit with that causes that type of damage to that piece of equipment?
You know, mostly over time, probably contact with the ground. Somebody had it a little bit too low, trying to pick up more, and as the motor grader went over it, it hit the ground. And at one time, this magnet did have wheels on it. When it was purchased, it had wheels on it. And it probably got damaged that way also.
Thank you.
Not something that I want to spend a lot of time on, but it does seem, it makes sense to put it on a motor grader because they're turning up the road at the time that they're using that application. But it almost seems like it would be a better fit to be on the rear end of the motor grader because you've overturned the road and drugged the ditches and so forth. That is just a thought. So, all right. Any other comments from commissioners? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-109 as prescribed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-109 road magnet. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Sounds like we just spent the money we saved for the newspaper. Item number 3.
RFA 2023-112 Bridge Project Review and Road Closure Approval with Justin Mader, County Engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Mader.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Trying to get the clicker to work. So I'm here this morning to, at the request of the Board of Commissioners, to provide an overview of our current bridge replacement projects under design and request approval of the road closures for these projects, especially during weed harvest activities. Today I will be talking about 6 reinforced concrete bridge projects and 2 low water crossing projects. Over to the right is kind of our standard road closure sign setup, and so this is typically what you'll see out there on the project sites. But currently our practice for a road closure for a bridge project is, one, if it's on a gravel surfaced or an earth road, we will send out a road closure notification to the public, letting them know that the road's going to be closed. A signed detour route is not provided. And then the road closures are allowed during weed harvest activities unless the road is a direct access to a grain storage facility. If it is on a asphalt surface road, again, a signed detour, is not provided. Road closures are not allowed during weed harvest activities if it's on an asphalt surfaced road. We do put out, we have access to 2 message boards, and we'll put those out on the project site, at least a week or more before the project starts to notify the people who are actually using that road, when it's going to be closed. And then, of course, a road closure notification is provided to the public. Alternatives for action, is to approve the road closures that I'm going to present today, or to provide staff with alternative requirements for each road closure. So the presentation I'm going to go through is going to be my recommendation for each site. But before I get started on that, I do want to talk about the budget impacts, associated with these decisions. So contractors bid on projects according to the project specifications and the construction schedule requirements. So therefore, each time we put out a bid package, we have to set a early start date, a construction completion date, and then working days, for each site, and that's actually in the bid package. But also we have to put in there any other scheduling requirements, for instance, like if we are not going to allow the road to be closed during weed harvest activities, that has to be put in those documents up front. So in order to get the most economical bid from a contractor, my office does provide a very large window for these projects to be constructed. For instance, on these reinforced concrete box projects that I'm going to talk about, we would allow, the contractor to have a completion date of like December 31st of 2024. So it's like, a year and a half to get all of these done. And this allows the contractor the flexibility to fit these projects in with all of their, their larger project backlog. So the flexibility we take away from the contractor, to schedule this construction, possibly will increase their bid. So eliminating a road closure during weed harvest activity for a reinforced concrete box project is going to allow the construction activity from like March through July. So that's 4 months. 4 months of construction, that you're taking away from the contractor. And so, this can result in an increased construction costs. So I've got we're looking at 8 projects here, so I'm going to click through them pretty quick so we're not here all morning. But if you have any questions, during the presentation, please let me know. All right, so I'm going to start off with, here's a title sheet of our 6 reinforced concrete projects, and I'm just going to hit each one of them one at a time. All right, the first one here is, it's at the intersection, just north of the intersection of Donmeyer and Country Club Road, and we're going to replace the structure with a reinforced concrete box that's significantly wider than what's there, really just because of the turning radiuses through there. This is an asphalt surface road, and so we do not allow this project to be closed during weed harvest activities. As far as traffic control, and I got this set up on each project site, I kind of zoomed into a map. The red circle that you see here is where the bridge project is going to be located. And then I've got these brown or yellow arrows along the road, and that's really the access around this project. So, and I've limited access to, either a paved road or a gravel road. Of course, if it is a dry condition, people can use an earth road, but I'm not using that on these maps here. So, in order to get around this project at Donmeyer and Country Club, the public would have to go 3 miles north to go to the west, or 2 miles north to go to the east of the project site. Next is a project on Burma Road, just north of Coronado Heights. And this here is replacing a structure with it looks at a double barrel box structure. It's on an asphalt surfaced road, so of course we will not allow the closure during weed harvest activities. And access here, this was pretty close to another site, but here the project I'm talking about is here to the left, and there's their circle for the broad box project. So access around the project site is going to be the 1 mile section to the on the east side of Burma. Moving on to Centennial Road, and this project here is on a gravel road, and it's between Sungen Road and Rose Hill Road, and we're replacing 3 pipes with a reinforced concrete box. The pipes really aren't significant enough to handle the water, and this road gets washed out quite a bit, and that's why we're replacing it with a box. And here's just the exact same map I just showed you, but here I'm talking about this project location on the right side. This does have access to to go around the section on the west side, and then to the east side, people would have to go around to Old 81 and to get around the project site. Being on a gravel surface road, that we would allow construction during wheat harvest. Next is at the intersection of Forsey Road and Thorstenberg Road. Again, this is a site where there's a large pipe that is kind of cuts diagonal in the intersection through there, but it's still not significant enough to carry the storm waters that go through there. So we're replacing that with a double barrel RCB box. Cutting across the intersection, and then also with a pipe we're replacing a pipe right here to pick up the water in the southwest quadrant there. So this is a gravel surface road. So we would allow the road closure during wheat harvest activities. And so you see here's a project site. So it's just south of Fallen Road. We do have access to, for on a gravel surface road, just 1 mile to the west. However, again, like I said, if it's during dry conditions, there is some earthen roads that the public could use to get around the site to the west. Moving on, so we've got there's 2 bridge projects on Watkins Road between McGavern Road and Miller Road. And so this is the project on the easternmost project. And here we're replacing the existing structure with it's a 10 by 4 reinforced concrete box project. So here's the map, and this is going to be a little more unique. So here are the 2 projects in that mile that I'm talking about. But in order for the public to be able to get around these projects, the maintenance is going to have to do an upgrade on McGavern Road for about a mile. There's really no other way to go from the west side of the project to the east side of the project right now without going on an earthen road. And this includes into Lincoln County. So I went into Lincoln County a little bit to check out their accessibilities, and it's all earth road. And so the maintenance is going to have to do some upgrades on McGavern Road right in through here before the project's done. So once that road is upgraded, they'll be able to use that road and then jump on Pleasant Hill to get over the project. This is the westernmost project on Watkins Road. We're replacing the existing structure with a box that's 14 feet wide and 8 feet tall, so it's a little bit bigger structure. It is at a skew through there to help with flow. And then there's another crossing just to the east over here, so we're going to replace the existing pipes in there with some new pipes, and the road's all going to be raised up through there. So we've got some significant flooding issues through there. And then again, because this is in the same mile, we've got the exact same traffic control, that I just talked about here before. We will have to put a stipulation in the contract. The contractor can't build these projects at the same time, because there is property access in between the 2 structures, that we can't take away. So it'll have to be done one at a time. Next is our low water crossing projects. So this is these projects are the ones that Saline County was awarded the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program funds for. So I am expecting these projects to be completed, either this coming fall or winter. So there shouldn't be any issues with conflict with wheat harvest activities. So, but I wanted to provide you an overview of the project. Okay, so this is the first one. It's a little hard to see. This is on McReynolds Road, and it is a dead-end earth road that's just west of Fairchilds Road. And you can see there's two bridges. There's a bridge right here, and there's a bridge right there that the project's going to remove those structures. We're going to lower the road, and again, it's kind of hard to see, but there's kind of a hatched rectangle here and here, and so that's the area of where the concrete pavement's going to be installed for the actual crossing. So it's going to be, there's not going to be any pipe or any kind of a structure underneath the concrete. The concrete's going to be dipped down to the flow line of the stream. Okay, so the tricky part is that this one and the next one I'm going to talk about is these are dead-end roads, so they're providing access to some agricultural fields on the other side of them, and we've got to provide access during construction. And so really where these two arrows come together right here is about where the road dead ends. However, the person that farms this field right here also farms this field, and now they've recently obtained, there's a house right there, and they said they could get access to these fields, by just driving along the edge of the fields there. And then there's a hay meadow right here, and they're going to get provided access by going around. I've got permission from the landowners, to go around, the south end of that stream bed, through there, and so to get access out. And really there's a family connection to who farms here, and this is the dad, and the son farms this field right here too. So sometimes that is not a good thing, but this time here everybody gets along, and so it's gonna provide that solution for that. Okay, next is Lapsley Road, and this is another dead-end earth road. We have Old 81 right here, so it's just on the west of Old 81. And it's going to be the exact same project here. So we're going to take out the existing structure there. We're going to lower the road and put in and install concrete pavement for the crossing. However, what's different about this one is in order to maintain a reasonable slope approach going on to Old 81, because this is all going to be farm ground, so we can't make it, the farm equipment using this, we can't make it really steep. So we've got to keep a reasonable slope through there. We're going to have to do some channel improvements. So right now the existing channel is over here, and we're going to have to realign it over here just so we can get some good slope there. And here, the access to the ag property. The project is over here off of Old 81. Here's Old 81. And the access is to take Lapsley all the way to the edge of the I-135 right-of-way, and to follow that right-of-way all the way up to Hedberg Road. Again, what's allowing this is some family connections, some fathers and sons that do the farming through there. And really, on both of these sites, this is what they're typically doing anyway, because this here is an 8-ton bridge. And if you've got a fully loaded semi, they're not wanting to take their equipment across this. On McReynolds Road, it's a 3-ton and an 8-ton bridge, and so they're having to go around anyway. So this is kind of my recommendations and overview of our projects. We weren't really sure exactly what you're wanting to see, for this presentation. This is kind of the first that I've done for you. So along with, your approval or direction, I would like some feedback on if this is what you want to see in the future, or if you would like to see anything different.
Well, let me make a couple of comments first. Number one, your low water construction crossings. I've witnessed some of those. I really applaud you for thinking outside of the box, so to speak. It does appear to be a way that gets rid of the water quicker. It is obviously a major cost savings to the county to do those in the right places. And thank you very much for that. The next one would be our practice for construction road closures. I would ask that sometime in the future, when we have another study session with Road and Bridge, that be one of our items that we can discuss a little bit I think it needs some updating or at least, you know, where we need to know a little bit more about it. So other than that, as far as your presentation, I don't know, perhaps a little lengthy, but on the other hand, maybe we need that. I don't know. It obviously everything that you did makes sense and makes us more aware. So.
Yeah, I think he's come forward, you know, we asked him to make sure that any of these projects we have, that we didn't interfere with any of the weed harvest, and I think that he's researched that out and taken a real good look at that, and hopefully it'll go as smooth as that.
And one of my only questions that I had, and you answered it, is on the Watkins Road east and west, is that can we do both of those at the same time? And you said no, so that was the only thing I looked at and said, hey, but, okay, yeah.
Well, I'd like to mimic what the chair said. I know in visiting with the Farm Bureau Association, they're excited about these low water crossings, especially in these remote areas where it's quite an advantage to them because they can take any of their apparatus across it and not have to worry about it. This McReynolds Road is quite familiar. This is the one that's been on our plate for a few years now, and I'm excited to see it be put to bed. As far as disruption during harvest, I know that we have to weigh the finances for the county taxpayers versus convenience for the farmers, and I know you can't guarantee that they won't have some inconveniences, but I think with just the steps you put into place, you'll keep those to a minimum.
Mm-hmm. You know, and there's always activities, you know, agriculture activities. You know, you can't just miss them all. You know, so but we do what we can. You know, so especially with you know, making sure the access around these sites. So you know, so because we don't sign the detour. This is just what, you know, the public may use. But then Darren's crews, they do a good job of watching those roads a lot closer, you know, putting a little more aggregate before the project gets started and making sure it is a good alternative.
The low water construction projects, are they done by our maintenance, our road crews, or do those bid projects?
No, yeah, these will be a bid project because it's a pretty significant grading project. You know, you got to think right now your roadway as it's crossing the stream is elevated, you know, 8 feet. Well, we've got to, you know, the contractor's got to cut all that material down, and they got to have a place to go with it. So we've designed the project where they've got a place to go with that soil, you know, right there on the project site. You know, and so it's even the concrete pavement. It's not just concrete pavement. I am having them construct a toe wall all the way around it. You know, to help with any kind of undermining, because once you start getting that void underneath the concrete pavement, you've got a mess. And so trying to eliminate any kind of maintenance issues, you know, with the concrete in the future is really what I'm trying to accomplish. The length of the concrete pavement is really kind of dependent on, you know, the longer you go, you're starting to come up elevation-wise up the road because you dug a valley in a sense, and trying to keep that concrete pavement within the 1-year storm event is what we're trying to do. So, you know, so every year, you know, we're hoping to keep that floodwaters, you know, I shouldn't say floodwaters, the storm waters within that concrete elevation.
Commissioner Shadwick, do you have anything you wish to weigh in with?
I got nothing.
Thank you. I'll go back to my lengthy comment. I understand. I'd rather be with the information than without it, so don't take that to heart all the way to, you know, start chopping it way down. So we do need the information. So.
One more question, Justin. You mentioned one of the projects you were going to have to divert the channel in a different direction. Will that sustain flooding events and stormwater events, or sometimes God decides where the water's going and
Yes, yeah. I mean, the whole thing was designed. And right now I haven't, I'm kind of on hold on those projects right now. I'm going through the permitting process. Division of Water Resources is the one that's, really particular about, moving a channel over through there. So we're still going through that process. I don't see a reason why it won't get approved. I have, I had to provide a little extra hydraulic data to the Division of Water Resources, to get that approved. But we're going to grade it out in a way that it should hold. But I mean, you're very right. It's Mother Nature will do what Mother Nature wants to do. But hopefully we can get this thing curved and, flat enough. We're not just moving it over abruptly. We're trying to make this as smooth a transitions as possible.
All right, is there any public comment regarding these projects? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-112 as presented.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFIA 2023-112 Bridge Project Review and Road Closure Approval. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Justin. We'll move to item number 4.
RFA 2023-113 Road Maintenance Agreement with the City of Assaria with Justin Meter, County Engineer.
The floor is yours once again, Justin.
Okay, so here I'm requesting approval for a road maintenance agreement between Saline County and the City of Assaria. So Assaria Road within the city limits of Assaria is considered a city connecting link according to KSA 68-506. So therefore, it's Saline County's responsibility to maintain the road through the city limits. This agreement details the responsibilities of Assaria Road from Old Highway 81 to Ohio Street, which is that mile-long section there. The responsibilities detailed in this agreement does provide a written documentation of what's actually practiced. So let me say that again. We're not really changing any responsibilities. It's just putting, writing down what's already being done. The origination of this agreement came about after determining that Assaria Road requires some significant maintenance due to the condition of the asphalt pavement. The city is requesting that as far as this, along with this project, that the road profile be lowered in order to provide better cross slope, especially outside of those travel lanes. They've got some pavement widening, some 6-foot pavement widening, where it's really steep slope going down to the curb and gutter section. But by lowering the road profile, it is going to increase quite a bit of costs because the city has quite a few utility valves and manholes in the road. That's all going to have to be adjusted, as well as we're going to have some work on those slopes that's beyond the through lanes. And so in the through lanes, what I'm talking about is what I'm considering a through lane is 12 feet on each side of the center line of road. That's what I'm calling a through lane. So this agreement has been reviewed and verbally agreed by the City of Assaria Council and as well as their legal counsel. I'll just touch base, kind of hit the highlights of the agreement. So the Assaria Road is broken up into 3 sections. The first section is inside the city limits of Assaria, and so the responsibilities are the Saline County is going to be responsible for the through lanes, the construction of the through lanes, and that includes any kind of road maintenance, which involves your chip seal, overlay, snow removal. However, what the city's going to be responsible for is everything outside of those through lanes. Again, through lanes being that center 24-foot. For this project that's coming up, anything outside of that, those through lanes are going to be the city's responsibility to take care of, as well as any utility infrastructure that's in the through lanes, like the manholes and utility valves, and so they'll have to be responsible for that. The next section is to the west, so that really goes from Old 81 to the western city limits. And so this is Saline County's responsibility, of course, is the road, the through lanes, and the north ditch through there. There is on the south ditch, the City of Assaria is responsible for that because of a project that Saline County helped them with some grading and some drainage improvements. And part of that project, the city said that they would take care of that south ditch from the city limits going out to Old 81. And then the third section is on the east side of the city limits, so it goes from the city limits to Ohio Street. And so the Saline County is responsible for the entire right-of-way, roadway and ditches, but the city has some utilities located in this area as well, and so they're responsible for, maintaining those utilities in that area, as well as any damage to the right-of-way from maintenance of those, for that utility infrastructure. So that's in a nutshell, what the agreement states. So is there any questions?
Well, it brings me to another question, and when you're quoting this KSA 68-506F, and it makes me think of a couple of other rural communities that have a similar situation. Do we need to protect ourselves and get a road maintenance agreement with those cities also?
So I'd have to look. I think the Smolin Road, or Smolin would be that. But here, to me, I was trying to get an agreement, for the first one, button up, and then go out to see what other communities we need to have agreements with, just so that everything's clear. Because as people are constantly changing, so this just has something written down. So I think that's definitely something I want to move forward with.
And it also provides guidance as we go down the road when these 5 commissioners aren't in place, that the next ones don't have to deal with that type of thing. So very good. Other questions or comments from commissioners?
It sounds like, Justin, there's it's going to be kind of an expensive job to take up that road and do all that work. I didn't see it on your projected road improvements list. Has this been on your radar, and is this just a maintenance issue, or is this a road improvement?
I'm considering this a road improvement, because by lowering the road, it's not going to be a full reconstruction. It's going to be, we're going to do a mill. It's how much, so it's going to be a mill and overlay. It's how much do we mill, versus going back with an overlay. So we're going to lower the profile by milling. We definitely need to go through and get some existing asphalt thicknesses through there, because we don't want to mill too much, take away too much asphalt. But it's just going to be part of our contractual asphalt budget line item is what I was anticipating.
And funded out of what line item?
It's a contractual asphalt line item. I don't remember what line item it is, but that's the name of it. It's contractual asphalt.
But you aren't looking to use the windmill special? Okay.
No. And probably, and I have to work out the details with Phil, but, the city's portion of it, could be paid out of like our 127. And then when the city reimburses us, it just goes back into that 127, something like that. So.
Thank you.
I do, excuse me, Robert, but it's like, I do want to commend, because it's like, yesterday when I got a phone call from the administrator, and he answered my questions, and he enlightened me a lot on my questions I had for this here project, and he helped me get through that. Thank you, sir.
And I did mention I didn't follow through with my RFA. So, the alternative for action would be to approve and sign the road maintenance agreement, or 2, to not approve the agreement, direct staff to the wishes of the board. Staff recommendation is to approve and sign the agreement. And as far as budget impact, because it's, we're just putting on a piece of paper what's currently being practiced, really there's no budget impact.
Is there any public comment regarding this issue? Not, I'll bring it back to the Commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-113 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-113, road maintenance agreement with the city of Assaria. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Item number 5.
RFA 2023-110, agreement for temporary senior executive services with Hannah Bett, Deputy County Administrator.
Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Commissioners. So back on April 4th, we had a concept discussion with the commission about the idea of having a contract with a firm that could provide temporary senior executive level type services to help us out with a couple of different projects. We brought a request for action back to the commission after that concept discussion, and commission authorized us to release a request for qualifications, in which we did. With that release, we received two proposals from, the first one was from Strategic Government Resources, or otherwise known as SGR, out of Keller, Texas, as well as Shockey Consulting Services out of Overland Park. The really good thing about this is both of these firms offered a very unique approach to what it was that we were asking for. So this is the abilities to provide just project-based work, such as drafting of policies, preparing analysis type stuff for staff reports, grant proposals, different projects. The request in front of you today is to enter into a master agreement with Strategic Government Resources, and it is staff's intent to bring back a separate request for action for an agreement with Shockey Consulting as well at a later date. Your alternatives today are to approve the agreement or not approve it. Staff's recommendation is to approve the agreement with Strategic Government Resources. At this point, there is no budget impact that's associated with this agreement. Any projects that staff would identify to be assigned to an experienced person with this agreement we'd have to identify some funding resources to be able to know how it is that we could pay for such temporary services. And subject to any of your questions, that is a request that is before you.
Do we already have items that are on our agenda moving forward that you're going to use these people for? Do we have any timetable set yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
That's about the only question that I've got. It sounds like an interesting plan, without hiring and putting more people on the payroll, and give the needed help when it's needed, and done in a professional manner. So I'll let other commissioners speak if they wish.
Just a little confusion on my part, Hannah. We're entering into a master agreement with Strategic Government Resources, SGR. But yet we're coming back with another RFA later for the Shockey Consulting. Explain the difference between a master agreement with one and an RFA for the other.
Sure. So, I guess they will both come back in the form of an RFA. This is an RFA for the master agreement, and then we'll have a master agreement with Shockey Consulting, too. The reason to have two of them is, so Strategic Government Resources, their approach to senior executive services is more along the lines of utilizing executive level staff that may be in transition, i.e. a city administrator that has left employment with one firm or one city and is waiting for another position. That would be kind of like their management in transition, that we could still potentially use them for temporary work that we might have for a particular project. Shockey Consulting actually has employed senior executives, and so their approach would be a little bit more kind of in-house type of work.
Okay, so the need arises for an individual. Do you decide which one of these to contact to fill the need by the description of what it is, or is it the availability of the one having someone at that time?
That's a very interesting question, but you're absolutely correct. It would probably be depending on which firm would be able to meet our need to the best of their ability.
So you just have a pool of two vendors that you can go to to meet your need?
Yes.
I made that a lot more harder than it
You're
needed to be.
fine. You're fine.
Is there a minimum time that we have to use these people for?
No. So if we identify a particular project and funding to go along with it, that it would be the intent is to actually also understand how long is that project going to last, and what is the availability of either firm to be able to accomplish that task.
I mean, the costs are significant, without question, but it's still going to be cheaper than adding staff. Much, much cheaper than adding staff, in my opinion, so. Okay, any other comments? Any public comment? Bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-110 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-110 agreement for temporary senior executive services. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? 0. The motion carries. I think it's 4-0. I didn't hear Monty, but he did.
I said aye.
Oh, excuse
I said
me.
aye.
I couldn't. Thank you, Monty. 5-0. The motion approved. That brings us to the conclusion of our action items for today. We'll move into informational items. And the number one item in informational is
Nex-Tech Broadband Project Update with Terry Peterson, Director of Field Services, Jeremy Rumbach, Engineering Supervisor, and Mike Pollock, Chief Operating Officer.
good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. I'm Terry Peterson with Nex-Tech, and wanted to discuss our upcoming fiber project in rural Saline County that's coming up here in the very near future. So back in January, Nex-Tech applied, well, prior to January, but Nex-Tech applied to Kansas Office of Broadband for a grant to provide services in portions of rural Saline County. We found out in January that we were approved for that grant. Since then, we have signed the necessary documents, I believe in mid-March, to accept that grant. And so we're now to the stage where we're going to start the engineering and the construction of that project. So the project includes about 130 miles of fiber optic cable to be placed, and we'll be passing approximately 669 structures or homes and businesses during this project. So I guess, I think you were provided a map, but I've got a clearer map that shows the service area that we're looking at if you want me to distribute those, or if you have any questions about this project. But we do have an engineer hired. Finley Engineering will be doing the engineering services for us for this project. They're based out of Lamar, Missouri, and we've had preliminary talks with them so far, but we're getting to the stage right now where we're going to bring them in and they'll start getting the engineering completed. So with this grant, we have to have the project completed by the end of 2024. So that's our time frame, but we want to start construction, early spring of 24 is kind of what our plan is at this point. So it'll all be buried fiber optic cable, and we will be asking to use county right-of-way for placement of that fiber. Of course, we'll apply for the necessary permits and, through Road and Bridge, and do that process as well. So, but did I miss anything you guys want to bring up?
Covered it.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
Well, I have a comment. You kind of answered it, I think, and that is the county's role in this is that we need to allow you to encroach on our right-of-way. Is that correct? Is that the county's role in this?
Yes, and the commission also approved, when they submitted their application, some match funds from our ARPA funding.
Okay.
So we're working with iParametrics and Nex-Tech to try and come back, up with an agreement for that, and that'll come back to the commission, likely on the consent calendar, for approval.
Well, I served on the KAC Board of Directors for the Kansas Association of Counties, and this broadband, rural broadband, has been a big deal for a lot of years now, and it's just now coming to the fruition to where we're going to be getting something done. So it's certainly a project that we're going to hopefully be helpful with you. Appreciate you getting that done, and help our rural citizens to go forward. All the construction here in town that's going on with, looks like burying cable, is that Nex-Tech also, or?
There are a couple of projects going on in the city currently, but yes, part of ours is going on now. Our construction crews started here in town last week, I believe. But yes, we are doing work in town here as well.
And you mentioned it, I think, but I didn't catch it. Your approximate start date would be?
We're hoping to start construction early spring of '24.
And completion would be then?
We have to have the project completely closed out with the Kansas Broadband office by the end of 2024. So, I would say by late summer of '24, we should have all the construction completed, and then we'll start the process of cutting over the customers to the new service. So.
Well, this should make our rural citizens happy, I'm hoping. So, go ahead. Comments?
Couple questions. Mr. Peterson, you said 130 miles of fiber optics. That's all just the feed line that's the trunk for
Correct,
to do the
yes.
feeding. How many structures did you say that would service?
Well, approximately 669 is what our count is right now. So.
And will there be, I know fiber optics came into our development, and if you signed up with them at that time, they brought it to your structure at no cost.
Correct.
But if you didn't and requested it later, there's a pretty good cost to that. These 669, are they going to have to pay for that service to be brought to their structure, or does the ARPA funds include feeding the fiber optics to the structure?
Yeah, so there won't be any cost to the customers, during our construction project. We'll do the drop to the houses, through this grant funding. After the project is completed, we normally do a term, call it contract with the customer to get that drop placed at a later date if they don't take it, up front. But yes, the upfront construction will all be done through the grant process, so, but no charge to the customers.
Okay, and you mentioned the map. We did get a map, but it really doesn't, it's kind of a hard map for me to.
Yeah, I can distribute some different maps if you'd like.
I would, and I'd also be interested in not only knowing what you're servicing, but you might have information about where there isn't good service, what our next needs might be, or where that is at. 130 miles is a lot of cable.
It's quite a bit, yeah.
So that's much better.
The blue area depicted there is the service area we're looking at through this construction project. We had a meeting with county staff and other broadband providers, and this area was one that the county staff had indicated that there was a big need for broadband services. So we kind of used that as kind of a backbone for the areas we picked, and then, we extended that out to make it a good project for ourselves as well as the Kansas Broadband office.
What road is that further south, going east and west that's in your service area?
So the further south one, that would be Crawford.
That's Crawford, okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's pretty much Crawford North. All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Quick question here is that with all this here, depending on whether, because I live out rural Saline County here, and we just had fiber optics put in last year. And do you look at doing underground drilling, or is this here the trenching type thing with the vibrating and it goes down underneath?
Yeah, so the majority of it would be static plowed. And of course, we would bore all roads and driveways and so forth. Anything that has a surface, we would bore with a boring machine. But yeah, the majority of it would be using like a cat with a static plow on behind it. So.
And do you have a minimum depth that you would put this at where the county doesn't have to worry about ever running into it with their graders or anything like that?
Yes, sir. Our minimum depth that we place is 42 inches. Okay. And, you know, depending on how it's permitted, you know, some counties make us go right on the edge of the road. Some of them go right in the toe of the front slope. You know, placement, we kind of work that out with the Road and Bridge Department and, you know, figure out what's going to work best for everybody. Okay. So that's kind of how we place it.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Peterson. We'll look forward to getting this project underway and helping our rural constituents.
All right. Thank you much for the support.
Thanks for taking the time to come and visit with us and arrange for this education.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2.
Commissioners' comments?
Anyone have any comments they wish to make? Commissioners? Not, we'll move to item number 3.
Announcements? I do have one announcement. This year we are voting on the cities, the school districts, as well as our Central Kansas Extension District Board. And the filing deadline was June 1st at noon. So the final list of candidates is on our website if people would like to go out and look at that. However, we did not have enough candidates to require us to have a primary, so there will not be an election in August, but we will have an election November 7th. And the calendar is out there as well, so if someone wants to go out and see when we start early voting and when the registration deadline is, it's all on our website.
All right, thank you, Jamie. We'll move into our concept portion of our meeting with item number 1.
Commission visioning items with Hannah Bett, Deputy County Administrator.
Hello again, Hannah.
Good morning. So excited to be in front of you to talk about a couple of the items that came from the commission visioning session and present kind of the stuff that we came up with and get commission feedback on that. So the first one, the commission had talked in their visioning session of the desire to be able to build a little bit more community trust, and one of the particular tasks or items that was brought up was reporting out at the different meetings or boards that the commissioners attend, reporting out back to the rest of the commission and to the public during your regular meetings on Tuesday. So the county clerk and myself were volunteered, I guess you could say, to look at this, and with Jamie's help, looked at kind of creating a form, which should be in your agenda packet, that could be something that the commission could fill out beforehand. We could put it in the commissioner's packet under commissioner's comments, so it was there, it was part of the record, and then, you know, obviously commissioners could report out on it. So that is the first type of that we wanted to discuss with you. The second one has to deal with providing kind of some advance notice of what's coming up next. So in your packet, we kind of created a draft agenda, and towards the end, before adjournment, and certainly open to different wording, however that might be, as put just a small section in there that gives you an idea as maybe some of the action items that might be coming up next Tuesday. Or if it is that the commission wants a little wider range of maybe some other things that might be coming up, whether it be from a time frame, a month, a year, or if just looking into the future of, hey, what's going to happen on next Tuesday, putting that there. So most of the time, we've got a pretty good handle on what is anticipated to be on the agenda next Tuesday, or the Tuesday that's coming up. Most of the time, obviously, it's obviously subject to change, but for the most part, I think we have the ability to at least give the commission just a tad bit more heads up as far as what might be coming up on your agenda the next week. So those are two items related to the commissioners visiting that we wanted to bring in front of you and get some feedback and kind of see if we were on the right track based off what the commissioners had said.
I like it. I do have, and I'll split hairs here just for a second, but we have informational items and then we have upcoming items. I mean, why can't they be combined into one section? And I certainly would expect to have our executive session be the last thing that we do as far as what you've got lined up here right now. You know,
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
99% of the time, there's no action coming out of our executive sessions at the time. So to keep people on the string for 15 or 20 or 30 minutes is, I'd like to see that be at the end of it. But that's, I'm just giving my opinion. Anyone else?
I like both ideas. I think that's, I think you did a really, really good job on the first one. I think that'll be helpful. Maybe more as a reminder. Sometimes it gets to the end of the meeting, I just, frankly.
Anyone else?
I got one question going back to this meeting report. I'm not the sharpest pencil. You're going to have to kind of help me with this. When is this done and who does it?
So the idea behind it would be for it to be the commissioner that attends. So, yeah, a chamber meeting. So we would have the chairman fill out a form, and that would just be a part of the agenda packet. So we would report out on what happened, maybe when the next meeting is, just, you know.
I see the
that's
purpose
kind of
now. I was a little confused with it.
Yeah, and the intent was, I mean, we could make the form be like a fillable form of some sort, but then that way the information is documented and written down and put in the commission packet.
I think that would meet the chair's request in the past that we do report back on the committees that we sat on and what's happening with them.
And I think we've done that, I mean, in the last, well, since I've started, I mean, you know, we've reported on what committees and stuff we sat on. I'm wondering if this doesn't also go back to the chair's first observation about the minutes. Are our minutes detailed enough to where instead of filling out a form, if I tell you that I attended this, and this, but the minute's going to reflect it saying, okay, Commissioner Hayes said that he attended so-and-so, and this is what he got out of it, or what's coming up. Instead of having to fill out extra forms, I mean, if we have a little bit more of a detailed minutes to where we can see it, the public can see it, and it gets, you know, it's just, it kind of takes that extra paperwork out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is something that we'll defer to the county clerk on.
Well, the minutes that I do are your minutes. So if there's a request that you would like to have, you know, something in there additionally, I mean, that is up to you how those are written. So if you would like that, that's something we can do.
And I think that is a pretty good way of handling it, is to make that request. Sometimes if a commissioner doesn't get the minutes, get his copy as quickly as he can respond, it is a little bit awkward, but, you know. I just want to say that we've adjusted this, our concept here for our meetings 2 or 3 times now over the last couple, 3 years to adopt this and go with it. And it doesn't work, we can change it. I don't see anything wrong with, I mean, I like the thought that we're trying to make things more efficient and awareness and so forth. And as you say, transparent. So there's our thoughts, I think, overall.
Well, I guess we'll kind of plug some stuff in and see how it goes.
Do the
over next
groundwork.
couple weeks. Yeah. Good.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Item number 2.
Discussion of indigent fees with Hannah Bett, Deputy County Administrator.
Hello again.
Good morning again. So this is a little bit, this is more of a follow-up from a couple of weeks ago. I had brought a discussion item to the commission about a request that we had received to raise our indigent cremation or burial costs from $750 to $1,000. So during that discussion, the commission had asked me to go back and make a couple other phone calls, do some more research, specifically as it related to Harvey and McPherson County, who pay $550 for indigent cremation services. I did find out that those services are done in Wichita, and we could utilize that mortuary, but they would be paid the $750 fee that Saline County has established as our indigent fee that we would pay, plus probably an additional $300 to $400 just in transportation costs. And then they couldn't really give me a good idea as far as what other fees might be associated with it, just because of the distance between Salina and Wichita. So that's the information that I found out from that area. Also, since our last discussion, Ryan's did contact me. They did propose an alternative solution, and that was to keep the indigent fees at $750, but they would be charging Saline County an additional $300 for any type of Saline County coroner requests for body removal. So it would end up being their total fee of about $1,050. So that is the information that I found, or that that has kind of come up since the last discussion. So wanted to, again, bring it back with the additional information and find out from the commission further direction.
Will you be coming forth with a RFA in the near future then, I assume?
If it is the commission's direction to raise those indigent fees, we would have to come back with a resolution and a request for action.
It's almost kind of a wash, isn't it, when you look at what we're going to pay Wichita, the $750 plus the $300 plus the, whatever other fees there could be, staying locally, with what we got, actually should come out. We come out better in the long run.
Probably, yes. And just as maybe a refresher, we have on average 7 indigent cases a year. So if that helps with overall cost aspect.
We have two options from Ryan's on the table, is that correct? One is to complete service $1,000 per case. The other is $750 plus any transportation. Or $750 plus $300, so it's you're talking $50 possible. Is there ever a time where someone has to get from point A to point B, and there's going to be a fee, whether it be Ryan's or some other mortuary, I would assume. So wouldn't we be ahead to pick the 1,000 over the 1,050 and have a sole provider of, or is it possible that another mortuary would take a call from the coroner? I don't know how all that works.
Correct. So what usually happens is when the coroner receives a call and there is a potential for the case to be an indigent case, the coroner notifies the mortuary of that potential. A lot of the times, those particular cases are a little bit more difficult. Because there is a lot of paperwork that's involved. There's a lot of identification that a mortuary needs to do to actually fully help determine that they are indigent, as well as the additional work that the coroner does. So all three of the mortuaries in town have taken our indigent cases. It just kind of depends on who's available. As well as each of the three mortuary services have different things that they charge for. We've got one mortuary that charges for body bags, and we've two of them that don't charge us for that. So it kind of depends. It's always usually up in the air. It's not just a one flat cost. The only flat cost that commissioners have established by resolution that we would pay is the $750 for indigent cremations.
Based on the fact that Ryan Mortuary has not asked for a price increase for 12 years, I think, and the fact that there are only 7 on an average of indigent cases, I don't give it to Ryan. Let's go with it. I think we're spending a lot of time on something that doesn't need a lot of time.
So if that is the direction of the commission, we would come back with a request for action and a resolution. And what that would do is the commission then would establish a fee. So it wouldn't matter if it was Ryan's or Rosalon.
Yep.
We would pay $1,000.
I don't know that that's the direction the commission wants to go.
Right.
That's the direction I want to go. I mean, there's 4 other commissioners.
Hit the easy button, and it's Ryan's, and just like the newspaper, you just do local. Move on.
I know you don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I have a little confusion here. Would we not be better to take option 2 for Ryan's, $750 plus a possible $300 if they do the transports? That leaves that $300 on the table for the other mortuaries if they should do it. Because if we go with the $1,000 and it's another mortuary that does the traveling, they could bill us for the $300, so we're up to $1,300 on that one.
That is the potential, yes. Yeah.
Good. Good thought, Jim.
Do you have direction? Doesn't sound like it to me.
I can certainly bring back an RFA, and we can just see where it goes to.
Bring one back, I guess.
I can do that.
All right. Thank you. Looks like we have an executive session.
Mr. Chairman, staff would request that the commission recess to executive session under the non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act to discuss a department head employee evaluation for 10 minutes and reconvene in this room at 10:33.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we move into executive session for the exception of the Kansas Open Meetings Act to discuss department heads and for 10 minutes. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We're in executive session. Oh, we're off the air? Oh, there we are. All righty, we're back in back in regular session from the executive session. There was no action taken. And is there anything else, Phil? I would ask for a motion for adjournment unless someone has something.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.